Welcome back. Well, they're still mad about the election, but can you really call these protests? Spraying police officers with pepper spray, burning the American flag. And it's not over yet. Dozens of protesters plan to hit the streets tomorrow for what they're calling Not My President's Day.
Solidarity today in New York's Times Square. Hundreds gathered for a rally organizers called Today I Am a Muslim Too. It was co-organized by music mogul Russell Simmons in response to President Trump's controversial travel ban on 7 Muslim-majority nations. Planners decided to carry on with the demonstration even after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against Trump's executive order.
While you are saying, I am Muslim too, I say to you, I am unapologetically Muslim all day, every day. I am not afraid because fear is a choice, it is not a fact.
Love Trump's hate! Love Trump's hate!
According to officials on Saturday, 2 Air Force F-15 fighter jets intercepted an unresponsive aircraft near Donald Trump's Florida estate. North American Aerospace Defense Command said in a statement late Friday the intercept required the Air Force F-15s from Homestead Air National Guard Base to travel at supersonic speeds, a sound noticed by area residents, to get to the general aviation aircraft where they were able to establish communications. NORAD then added, the intent of military intercepts is to have the identified aircraft reestablish communications with local FAA air traffic controllers and instruct the pilot to follow air traffic controller instructions to land safely for follow-on action.
5 middle school students are facing charges today for throwing part of a 2x4 at a vehicle in President Trump's motorcade on Friday. Officers assisting the U.S. Secret Service reported that a vehicle and the motorcade was struck by what they believed to be a small, hard object. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office tweeted out a picture of the wood that allegedly struck the motorcade and said, quote, we have ID'd juveniles who threw a 2x4 at the presidential motorcade. Now, a juvenile from a local middle school confessed to throwing the 2x4. And all 5 individuals are minors and will not be identified.
A father in New York City tonight is irate after a teacher injected politics into his 11-year-old daughter's homework. Vincent Ungro of Staten Island was helping his daughter with a vocabulary assignment. Seems simple enough when the wording of the questions caught his eye. One question, for instance, read, yes, President Trump speaks in a very superior and blank manner, insulting many people. He needs to be more blank so that the American people respect and admire him. Ungro told his daughter not to answer, and in response, her teacher, Adria Zawatsky, took off 15 points. What the heck?
It's good to keep the conversation open, because one thing that this taught us is that we have to be a little bit more diligent into what the schools might be teaching our students about their political views rather than their parents, and it should stay out of the classroom.
Well, and Vince, you make an excellent point, because Tucker, in particular, who's normally in this chair, does a lot about what's he calls, college campus craziness. But this is, your daughter's 11 years old, so it sounds like the indoctrination is starting much sooner than many of us even thought.
Yeah, a lot sooner, and that's what scares me, and that's why I kind of wanted my voice to be out there.
What a difference a year makes. Last year at this security conference in Munich, Iran was feted for helping to secure the deal that peacefully resolved the issues surrounding its nuclear program. This year, it was criticised for its role in the Middle East.
Hardly historical bedfellows, Saudi Arabia and Israel have both lashed out at Iran, signalling a growing alignment in their interests. At the Munich Security Conference, Israel's defense minister slammed the nuclear deal.
There is one very famous former American commander, and he explains that in the Middle East we are facing three challenges: Iran, Iran and Iran. And I can only to repeat and to confirm this approach.
Criticism came also from Saudi Arabia, which said it had extended the hand of friendship to Tehran for 30 years and received death and destruction in return.
Lebanese President Michel Aoun has issued a warning to Israel, saying any Israeli that hurts Lebanese sovereignty or exposes a Lebanese to danger will find the appropriate response. A statement from his office says Aoun was reacting to a letter to the United Nations by Israel's UN ambassador Dani Danon, which Lebanon is claiming amounted to a masked attempt to threaten security and stability in southern Lebanon. In November, Danon exposed intelligence to the Security Council showing that Iran is using civilian flights to Lebanon to send arms to Hezbollah. Danon cautioned the Security Council that Iran is in blatant violation of numerous Security Council resolutions, including Resolution 1701, which put in place a ceasefire ending the Second Lebanon War with Hezbollah. The Hezbollah terrorist group is an ally of Aoun and has two key members in the cabinet. Arab news sources are reporting that Nasrallah's threatening statements follow an earlier warning from Israel that the Jewish state will respond forcefully to any Hezbollah aggression from either Lebanon or Syria. That message comes as Western intelligence agencies claim Hezbollah has beefed up its weapons arsenal to include advanced Russian-made Yakhont anti-ship missiles. Israeli security officials have warned that Hezbollah possession of advanced missiles constitutes the crossing of a red line. These rockets have a 186-mile range, which is within potential striking distance of Israeli gas fields in the Mediterranean Sea. They would also endanger commercial vessels sailing off of the Lebanese coast and the operational ability of Israeli naval ships. Israel's already working to secure the areas by installing naval versions of the Iron Dome missile defense system on its vessels. The Hezbollah leader has previously threatened strikes against the nuclear reactor in southern Israel, as well as an enormous ammonia tank in the city of Haifa, which was just ordered to be closed by an Israeli court. Since the start of the Syrian civil war in 2011, a number of airstrikes attributed to the Israeli Air Force have targeted weapon shipments of Yakhont systems to Hezbollah from Damascus. Syria has a large arsenal of advanced arms of its own, thanks to its close ally, Russia.
U.S.-backed Iraqi forces launched another all-out assault on ISIS today. They are trying to drive the terror group out of Iraq's second-largest city, Mosul.
U.S.-backed Iraqi troops moved in swiftly Sunday, retaking at least 5 villages in western Mosul, setting their sights on the city's airport. Leading up to the invasion, Iraqi planes dropped millions of leaflets warning people that the assault was imminent and calling on Islamic State militants to surrender. Iraqi Prime Minister El-Abadi announced the aggressive new operation this morning on state-run television, saying the mission is twofold: to first liberate civilians and reclaim territory from the Islamic State. We call on our brave troops to start the push to liberate the rest of the city and to liberate people from the oppression and terrorism of ISIS, he said. As many as 600,000 civilians live in the western part of the city. The assault is taking place amid new concerns about the conditions they've been living in. According to those who have escaped, basic supplies like food and water are scarce. The operation to free Mosul began last October in the city's less populated eastern side. By January, the Iraqi government declared East Mosul liberated.
Mosul is symbolic to ISIS, whose leader proclaimed the group's caliphate there in 2014. Earlier this month, the top U.S. commander in Iraq said the city could be liberated within the next 6 months.
The blast ripped through a popular Mogadishu market. A shopkeeper told police he saw a vehicle parked near a restaurant. Moments later, explosives detonated, killing civilians and policemen.
I was very shocked. I saw people crying in pain and others lying on the ground wounded.
I wasn't far from where the bomb exploded and I saw more than 20 dead bodies. The injuries were unaccountable.
This attack is the first since President Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed took office on February 8th. He's offering $100,000 for information leading to those responsible.
New trucks are arriving every day in Moyo, Uganda, each one bringing more refugees from South Sudan, women carrying children and not much else. They're part of the 1.5 million people fleeing South Sudan's civil war, seeking safety in neighboring countries. Uganda now hosts some 740,000 refugees, most of whom have come since last year. Though Uganda is recognized for progressive refugee and asylum policies, officials say their transit and reception centers can only hold so many refugees. Many new arrivals resort to sleeping wherever there is space. Rachel Makisa fled from Ye County in southwestern South Sudan. She doubts she'll be able to return.
Right now, I don't have a hope for our country because there is fighting taking place in our place, and right now I don't know what exactly. So I don't have a hope for my life.
It's a reality many of these refugees face, and a reality likely to continue, says Comstra.
I don't know how many more thousands have to come and flee or die before the international community wakes up and realizes what's happening here on the ground.
A stark warning from on the ground of Africa's largest refugee crisis.
An explosion in Colombia's capital Bogota has injured at least 26 people, most of them police officers. It happened near to Santa Maria Bullring as officers prepared for anti-bullfighting protests. The blood sport returned to Colombia's capital last month for the first time in 4 years, and there have since been weekly clashes between demonstrators and police.
No one's claimed responsibility for the attack yet. It was initially thought that it was an attack that was part of the anti-bullfighting protests that have been going on for a while. But the mayor of Bogota did come out to say that these attacks had nothing to do with the protests, that this attack was specifically meant to hurt the police force. And that declaration has left people in Bogota wondering if this is an attack perpetrated by the ELN, the country's second largest guerrilla force, which just sat down to negotiate their disarmament terms with the government. People fear this is a show of strength ahead of those negotiations. They fear this is a resurgence of a guerrilla-type violence that they haven't seen in a long time.
These truck drivers from Afghanistan are frustrated. They've been stuck at the Torkham border crossing for up to 4 days. Many are transporting perishable goods such as fruit to Pakistan. They don't know when they'll be allowed through. They say the closure is affecting their livelihoods.
The fruit loaded on my truck is worth $15,000 to $20,000. If we are stuck here for a few more days, we will hardly make back the actual cost of the fruit.
Security forces closed Torkham and another border crossing after an attack on a Sufi shrine in southern Pakistan last Thursday. The bombing by ISIL fighters killed at least 88 people and wounded more than 300 others. The Pakistani government says the increased security measures are designed to make it more difficult for fighters to cross the border and evade capture. But it's also making it difficult for those who rely on an open border to do their jobs. Up to 15,000 people use the Torkham crossing every day. It's an important trade link between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
This closure is having a negative effect. People involved in the trucking business have invested their life savings. If they lose all their money, they won't be able to feed their families.
People wearing carnival masks have thrown Molotov cocktails at the Athens headquarters of Greece's ruling Syriza party. Police said one officer was injured and 35 suspects were being held for questioning. Authorities said the group threw 5 petrol bombs at the building's entrance and at 2 cars parked outside. The attack came as Eurozone finance ministers are set to meet on Monday to discuss what more austerity measures Greece needs to carry out to get fresh bailout money.
Ukrainians in Kiev gathered to pay tribute to the 100 people who died in clashes with riot police during Euromaidan protests from 18th to 20th February 2014. Demonstrators chanted glory in a show of respect to the fallen protesters. Many also feel disappointed with the cause which they died for.
What for did these boys die? I have no words to express it. It is very difficult. We wanted to make things better for our children, but we cannot see anything getting better.
Few can hold back tears. Many complain that the first reforms which they expected from the provost government were not carried out. Fresh polls highlight the public frustration. The rating of parliament with a big pro-European majority has dropped to just 5%. President's approval rating has also fallen from 55 to only 14%.
I do not feel any changes. Everywhere there are only corruption and lies. Corruption rates are over the top.
Что такое? Как ты, долбоёб, кидай?
Hundreds rallied in Paris on Sunday to protest against corruption and a presidential campaign marred by legal scandals. Signs called for an end to the privileges of the ruling class, echoing claims of the French Revolution. Many of the slogans specifically targeted center-right candidate François Fillon, who faces a probe into claims his wife was paid for fake jobs. We see all those politicians earning millions, and we're struggling every day to earn peanuts.
Thokozani is marching for her future. After 30 years working in a chicken processing factory, she's been laid off, along with 1,300 of her colleagues. Industry leaders say thousands of other workers are threatened with redundancy.
I've got 5 children. 3 of them are still at school. They all depending on me. So I don't know what's going to happen for me and my family.
Poultry farmers say the industry is in crisis because they can't compete with the European Union, which they accuse of illegally selling quarters of chicken in South Africa below cost price. The South African government is investigating and promising to intervene. Industry leaders say immediate action is needed.
The European Union doesn't send whole birds here. They don't send breast fillets, and they don't send wings, and they don't send whole birds, because they get better prices for those in the Northern Hemisphere where they want them. What they send here is what they can't sell there, and they sell it at whatever price they can get.
Chanting slogans in defense of refugees and carrying banners that read, "Our house is your house," the people of Catalonia marched on the region's capital to denounce the inadequate and slow response of the Spanish government to the crisis of refugees and asylum seekers. An estimated 160,000 people answered the call of the mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau, to fill the streets in protest. 2014, Catalonia offered to take 4,500 refugees and urged the EU to take its share and provide shelter for those fleeing conflicts and war zones. The march ends here on the shores of the Mediterranean, where over 5,000 people lost their lives last year as they were trying to cross over to a seemingly better world.
In California are picking up the pieces after devastating storms slammed the West Coast this weekend. At least 3 people are dead. More dangerous storms are rolling in.
Bulldozers cleared muddy debris from neighborhoods and highways buried by rock slides in Friday's deadly storm. As fallen trees were removed, dropping water levels revealed another victim in a creek near Los Angeles. Flooding remains a concern in Northern California. On Saturday, 200 people were evacuated in the town of Maxwell when overflowing creeks flooded roads and homes. Jim Sasso is with the Colusa County Sheriff's Office.
The water just kind of outran them and started coming into residences.
In Morgan Hill, the Anderson Reservoir has reached capacity, leaving the community on edge.
I've lived here most of my life, and I've never seen the levels of water being so high.
Meanwhile, crews at Lake Oroville Dam are working around the clock to repair a damaged spillway and lower the lake's water level ahead of an approaching storm. The threat of flooding forced the evacuation of 188,000 people last week.
Here in Los Angeles, they're patching up a 20-foot sinkhole that swallowed 2 cars. DeMarco, even more rain is expected in the area later tonight.
A rescue dog gave his owner a very enthusiastic welcome after he returned home a week later from being in the hospital. Is he a daddy? Mark O'Neill and his Staffordshire Bull Terrier Patch have a very special bond and rarely go anywhere without each other. When the 27-year-old spent a week away from his best friend in the hospital, his girlfriend Kerrigan knew their reunion would be something special, so she made sure to have the camera ready for Mark's return.
I missed you too. I missed you too.
Mark and Kerrigan rescued Patch last May. The formerly stray pup had spent the last 5 months in an SPCA rescue center in Scotland. Patch's owners told Inside Edition that the dog is always excited when people come over, but has never quite reacted like that before.
I missed you too.